Hello, everyone. I'm here now again because we have a podcast earlier. Uh, Today, we are here with Jeff Chau. She's a marketing from Razer, the global one in sports. I would like to introduce you for Giovanna. Giovanna is my co-hosting. And
Hi.
my first question for Jeff is that always we do like a small briefing about you in the description, but I would like to know about you. Who is Jeff? How you started and everything.
Yeah, well, I'm Jeffrey Chau. I'm the director of global esports currently at Razer here, based in Singapore, the Singapore headquarters. And yeah, my journey with esports started. I'm going to date myself, but I actually grew up in Hawaii, which is a really cool place, and then moved to South Korea. I thought it was the end of the world because Hawaii, beautiful blue skies, to South Korea, gloomy, and it was the during the midst of the Asia financial crisis, so it was the attitude and the vibes were pretty bad and negative over there. And Korea was like developing as a country, and StarCraft and LAN, or ADSL back then was installed. It was a government initiative, and StarCraft was born, right? And the first modern day esports started to happen there, where people were attending stadiums to watch other people play StarCraft, which is crazy at the time. Nowhere else in the world you would see that. So I competed. I played. I went from PC bong to PC bong. Trying to claim whoever the king of the hill was. Right. It was really fun. Figured out that I couldn't compete with the Koreans, so I left Korea. I went to Cornell University, and I had like a more traditional, I guess, career path. But I always knew I wanted to be a leader. So because being going to military school on base in South Korea. I loved, learning about leadership, servant leadership, and all that stuff. So that's why I joined. Right after college, I joined Aldi, which is like a grocery chain, discount grocery chain, to be a district manager, and then from there led to running a Target. I was like what 27 or something, and I was a GM of a Target, which is amazing. I was like super young, and then I went to Apple. I was a store leader or GM for a full flagship Apple store. And then got back into esports when Apple launched the iPhone 6. There's a game called Vainglory. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. And then I played it, fell in love, and was so competitive with it. I became a top 10 player in the world. And then my mobile esports career started, right? I saw something that a lot of people, it reminded me very similar to what I saw in Korea. But I'm like, this time I'm not going to like leave it, right? I'm going to go in. So I left Apple, started my own esports company, moved to San Diego, and then moved to LA. One thing led to another. I became a caster. I was a pro player. I then hosted the Asia Games in 2018, and it gave me, and being a caster and a pro player, and gave me a lot of global experience. I had to travel all around the world. I've been to Sao Paulo, beautiful place, really good food. I've been to Australia, Europe, China, Singapore actually twice for esports, Indonesia, Asia Games, um, and one thing led to another. And honestly, all that set up for my role here at Razer. I was the pro player. I was a GM. I was a coach. I was a caster. I traveled all over the world. I had global kind of experience, and we'll talk more about like why putting yourself out there, traveling, doing new experiences, and all that is going to really help your career. You never see the dots connect forward, but you always see the dots connect backwards. Everything you do has an impact downstream. So now I'm here at Razer, and we had a phenomenal 3 years. 2024 was a record year for Razer. Actually, it was the best year for global esports marketing that Razer's ever seen. We had the best product launch in history, which is the Viper V3 Pro, or not history. It was the second best launch, because now the best launch is the Viper V4 Pro that we just launched this year. And every year has been a record. My team has grown. My Singapore team is only myself and I. I hired two more people, right? Two more full time people. So I have three full-time Singaporeans working at me in the headquarters. And I think for me, creating opportunity, building a team is what drives me, right? That's like kind of my North Star. I share to my team a lot is the growth and all that. Yeah, so looking forward to talking more about, Razer and esports. And I'm sure people ask about Faker and our relationship and a lot of the other things, when it comes to what Razer is doing in esports.
Awesome. I would love to know about how you choose the position you are now, because you said you were so many things, you had so many positions in sports, and I would like to know more about the transition from Apple and for the sports, and also your position job, like, because have you choose the position you're right now, or the life is just changed and you're just going, oh, what happened?
Yeah, I think for young people, I think having agency, and agency is like you hear this a lot now. If you listen to all the top leaders in business and AI, especially how the world will move towards more where AI will do a lot more of the work and the execution. Agency is a word that pops up a lot at the high tier level. You
Mhm,
look at pro players, they have high agency. They're people that take initiative. Agency means that you're not afraid to take action, you're not afraid to make a decision, and you're not afraid to move, right? And
mhm,
make progress. So I think that helped me a lot because I saw, the iPhone 6 was launched, the game launched. Of course, like any gamer, you play it right away. But I followed what my gut and feelings kind of said to me is, man, I love this so much. I love competing. I love streaming and teaching other people how to play better. I was a Twitch partner streamer as well. And that's where, from Apple, I kind of took the jump and left Apple because I had a really successful career there. I was kind of hiding it too, to be honest, because it was a mobile gaming is not popular in the U.S. People look down on it. They think mobile gamers are not real gamers. So I kind of had this like stigma on my shoulder because it was like dismissed. People like said, people that play mobile or like Candy Crush, they're like, slop, kind of not real games kind of thing. And I would hide it. I would be competing on Twitch and working at Apple. I was a GM,
mhm,
and then one day I saw my employees. I eat lunch with my team, which I love because you get to learn a lot about, you know, their personal lives, but also like what problems they're facing because people are much more open when you eat with them. You take them out to lunch, and I learned that at my time at Target as well. But they were playing Vainglory, and then they found out who I was. They watched the match and they're like, Jeff, is that you? And then I joked. I was like, oh no, it's my twin brother. I have an identical twin brother. And they're like, oh okay. So that kind of worked for a few days, and then they're like, no no, that's you because your name is on the stream, right? So yeah. So then I just embraced it. After that, I said, I got to stop feeling pity or like feeling like mobile game because I grew up playing PC, StarCraft, console, right? That's a very American upbringing is console gaming and PC gaming. And mobile was this negative stigma. So I embraced it, and that's when I felt right. Your gut will tell you what's right. Even if the data doesn't support it, like the when I say data, I think I talk about hard data because like Apple, I was paid really well. And they're giving me RSUs and I took the jump. My first contract that I was paid in esports, I was paid $500 a month. So that's like you can't live on that in the US,
yes.
but I knew it felt right. I knew that this was something that was special and esports would continue to grow, and it was like I'm coming back to my roots, which was my time in South Korea, where I grew up in the middle of all of it. I mean, gaming is so cool there. I mean, you're like a rock star if you were because like I was like a freshman and I was like the best player at StarCraft, and I was hanging out with the seniors in high school. Like people like I was like a rock star at school because I was so good at the game, and I didn't see that same type of culture in the U.S. Back then. But now today, yeah, if you're really good at video games, you will be elevated to like a really cool kid in school and stuff like that because you help the other team member, you help your team win, right, and so on. So that's why I made the jump from Apple to starting my own esports team, which at the time was Hammers Esports. So I was one of the co-founders, and we led the teams. I was a pro player at the time. Then I became like the head of competitive and biz dev. So I drove a lot of the partnerships, which relevant to Razer now. And then I also drove a very competitive team. We won. We had the most winning season through the spring season of 2018, I think. Yeah, so we had the most winning season where my team won every single tournament in Vainglory. Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it, and competition is what fuels me, and that's why esports is like perfect for me, right? And then esports is about competition, and I love this. So that's how I transitioned from Apple, and now looking back, it was completely the right call. It was very scary, of course, and risky at the time because I had to had a lot of savings to do that. You can't just do it if you don't have like some type of a safety net. But I'm glad that I was able to make that decision, right, and take uh, have the agency to be able to do that, right? And one thing led to another.
Wow, that's
Nice,
great.
nice. You were saying about like that you receive a small amount of money in the beginning. Uh, I don't know. I think you know like the Pen Gaming that is from Brazil.
Yes, yeah,
I
yeah.
played that. I was a player from then in from Dota in 2010.
Oh wow.
And then I after that I was the manager. You got like two national tournaments here, and I got a keyboard. It was a keyboard for Razer, and I say like if it was today, it was like $100,000, but in the time it was like two keyboards and one mouse, something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Talking about the team that you created, the Hammers, right? Uh,
Hmm.
I have two questions about that. The first one is when you realize that esports it was more than just a hobby, because I imagine that you started as a hobby, starting in StarCraft. And the second one, what motivates you to create a team? You say how it was a dream that you had, or it was an opportunity you got?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it goes back to like yeah, we were just playing in we were in line. It was all line chats and stuff, and Discord was people don't know this, but Discord came from Fates Forever, which was then split. Fates Forever was a MOBA on mobile, and then the Discord team came from that team. So they had a falling out. So half the team from Fates Forever went to create Vainglory. The other half went to create Discord. And Vainglory was the largest gaming server on Discord. I mean, we were one of the reasons why Discord started taking off. And Vainglory had like the first server I think was hit like 100,000, 200,000 users. The game was like really popular back then. And when it came to hammers and why I did it is we were in these line chats and discords, and then we were playing against like a really good team called Team Nemesis. Dormammu was the leader of that guild, and it was like the team where when you queue, you're like, oh my god, you're like scared as hell because you're like you're gonna lose and all that. But it felt so. I love that feeling. I was like, man, I'm going up against a challenge. You're one of the best teams right now on the server. I want to kick their butt, and we beat them and we built ourselves our own reputation. And they're like, "What team are you on?" I was like, "I'm not on any team." So, and that's when Hammers was created. I was like, "Man, we should create Hammer. I should join the team." And then we created a team and then started competing, and the rest is history, right? And I learned a lot about like running an esports org. There's a lot of challenges back then. Funding wasn't easy, especially in mobile. We got like Steel Series as like a sponsor actually. I also helped get TCL Chinese Theaters as a sponsor as well. And it was a very humble time, I would say. And then but it led me to like my streaming career where I was a Twitch partner streamer for like 5 years. And it led to my casting career. Again, one thing led to another, and it just started from me playing the game and continuing to improve. I think the main thing is when you work at something or you play a game or whatever it is that you do in life, sports, work, skills, keep improving at that. Keep pushing yourself to learn and grow. And that's going to create opportunities, or it's going to teach you things and help you learn, and take on new skills. Because like I had to run a esports organization. I had to learn how to coach like 13-year-olds because mobile gaming, they're very young. So to learn how to coach a team of like young kids to get them like focused and motivated, and all that, and to create winning teams, right? And that's kind of my what I love doing is competing and winning. Losing sucks, of course, but it's addictive to play, to win and lose, because you're constantly getting feedback and you want to keep improving and be the best, right? So that's kind of how I kind of led and created Hammers Esports. And then from there, the rest is history.
Wow, awesome. How did the idea of Clash Royale League start, and what it was the impact for mobile sports?
Yeah, I was really, Supercell's like a huge. They're such a well-run company. They run like they call it Supercell because how they run their teams is small teams of cells. It's brilliant. They have a great development team. They're very good at what they do. Their games are just amazing. I mean, I was addicted. I spent thousands of dollars on Clash Royale, and I loved it. And I was like a top four NA player. I made it to like the top four of like Clash Royale League North America. And also at Hammers Esports, I recruited a player. We went to Vegas and had an event at like a town square, Dave and Buster's. And we had a local event there, and it was Monster Deface. He was the host. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but now he's in Fortnite and stuff. But back then he was big in mobile. And then Backspace was a person that I met, and I recruited him to join Hammers Esports. And I created and started the Clash Royale division at Hammers. And it was Backstab, sorry, Backstab X. And he ended up winning the first Clash Royale LAN tournament in LA. I was there. I still have a picture of it. He was a first champion, and Hammers was a first champion. And then I recruited Surgical Goblin, who's one of the best players in Europe, and he won the European champions at EWSC. And Clash Royale League, then they saw like how organic the growth was, how
Mm,
their players craved and wanted to compete, how they could fill these small kind of theaters and stuff of people willing to watch other people play and compete in Clash Royale. I mean, it was a mobile game. Like I still looked at it like, wow, that's kind of crazy and cool at the same time, right?
mm,
And then the Clash Royale League was then started. Supercell funded and supported the teams to kick it off because honestly, a lot of organizations did not want to enter mobile esports because they saw it as high risk. They didn't really believe in it. They didn't understand it, to be honest with you. So Supercell had to give incentives. And then when Clash Royale League, and I left Hammers actually, and I but then became a caster. So I became a caster for Clash. So I was a caster for Vainglory. I was a caster for Clash Royale. I was a caster for Arena of Valor, and I was also a caster for Honor of Kings. I was a caster for four different games,
wow.
and that's where Clash Royale League (CRL) started. And then at Immortals at the time, because Immortals acquired my team, we won the first North America Championship. My team won the first North American Championship. So that was Trainer Lewis, All Crap, um, and the other players. And yeah, I had a veteran and two rookies and a veteran head coach. And they won the first North American Championship. So it was awesome to see. I mean, it was just a very fun time to see the growth of mobile, and how the publisher was investing into esports to see how, because at the end of the day, it's distribution, right? What I mean by distribution is it's marketing, right? Esports is a marketing expense. It can generate revenue if the operation and the business model is set up for that, the structure to get sponsors, to give value, marketing value to sponsors, activation potential, and all that. Then the esports side of the business can be self-sustaining, but a lot of developers don't structure it properly, and it becomes a big marketing expense. So this happened to Vainglory actually. They weren't able to monetize the esports side and put too much money into esports where it affected the company, and that's why Vainglory kind of didn't survive. But
Mm,
Supercell, they took a step back, but they still have Clash Royale competitions going. So I think that esports is not easy. It really has to. You have to be very thoughtful about the unit economics and how to structure esports for it to be successful for the long term. Because we know that it drives a lot of value if done right for games like League of Legends, for Honor of Kings in China. If you help grow esports at a grassroots level, it will increase the longevity of and lifespan of your games. Um, and that's proven in mobile. So mobile games were one hit wonders. They would pop up for a year or 2 years and they'll disappear. Flappy Bird, here, gone, right? But now the top and most profitable games are mobile esports games, and they've been or for more than a decade. You never hear it before. I mean, the mobile esports gaming market is a flash in the pans, right? But now Honor of Kings has been a game for almost 10 years now. And it's going very strong, still making billions per year. So that's great to see, and how esports is evolving and growing um, the gaming ecosystem and market in general.
Really
yeah.
nice, really nice. I have a question, but it's like a more a personal question about the mobile because I don't play mobile because I don't have. I usually say a joke that I don't have fingers for that. My brain doesn't do that. But for example, in Brazil, the mobile games that are really famous are PUBG Mobile and Free Fire. Clash Royale is really famous, but not in competition. A lot of people play, but for fun. And international, how which game are really famous? Because I know Clash Royale is famous. Arena of Valor, I think, is famous too. Which games are the most famous in mobile games?
Yeah, Mobile Legends Bang Bang right now. It actually they just released a quarter one 2026 report, and it had the highest peak viewers, more than outside of China. I'm not counting China, because if you count
Okay,
China, then League of Legends and Honor of Kings would be the top two.
okay,
But Mobile Legends is the biggest esports right now outside of China. If you look at across all PC and console, so quarter one, the peak viewers, Mobile Legends hit like 5 point something million, but
okay.
it's more than League, uh CS2, Valorant, and Rocket League put together. So
Oh my god.
League, CS2, Valorant, and Rocket League are the next four biggest. But
Right.
Mobile Legends has such a concentration and saturation in Indonesia, of course, and Malaysia and all that, that he's seeing 5 million peak. I mean, they're peaking higher. I mean, it's insane because like people underestimate and don't understand this region, and that's what I love about being here in Singapore at Razer is this region has so much potential for growth. Indonesia, right, looks really small on the globe, but if you take Indonesia and you do a 1-to-1 and you kind of expand out the country to how big it should be by land mass, it's as almost as big as Europe. It's like fits and competes in size to the United States. Indonesia is massive, but if you look at the globe and how the map and how where it is on the map, it looks a lot smaller than it is. And
Right.
people underestimate Southeast Asia. It's going to drive a lot of the future growth. And the reason why I think the West should learn from this, as you know, Razer, we do license, products and stuff like that. And China and Korea is a very strong market, and Japan. They're very strong markets for licensed peripherals. It's because the market is more mature, I would say. Like China, especially, is much more mature and developed in terms of the esports ecosystem, the business model, the culture. It's much more of a way of life than I would say in the U.S. Right? Esports is just a way different level, and as a result, they value these special esports type of products like Faker Edition mice, for example, and all this. So that's what I see in the business data, right? So I think that when it comes to mobile, they're underestimating how, when they graduate, these mobile gamers, mobile introduces people to gaming. I just tweeted about it actually. And what's going to happen is they're going to graduate. They're going to become a console gamer, they become a PC gamer, and it's going to grow the entire gaming ecosystem. So Mobile Legends and Honor of Kings are the two strongest games. PUBG Mobile also has done an amazing job. PUBG Mobile has hundreds of millions of gamers still. So I think those are probably the three largest mobile. Clash Royale is actually still very strong. Brawl
Free Fire
Stars
is
is,
famous. Free Fire is
yeah, Free
famous
Free Fire
outside.
is big. Free Fire has kind of declined from its peak though, so it's no longer. I don't think it has. I need to read the Garena earnings report, but I don't know if they're at 100 million daily active players anymore. They actually hit that a few years ago, but I don't think they're there anymore. But Free Fire, yeah, it helped really Loud, right? Loud came from Brazil,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I know the co-founders of Loud. They started in Vainglory actually. They both work for a Super Evil Megacorp, which is the developers of Vainglory, and then they then went to found Loud because of what they learned from Vainglory, and then they started in Free Fire, and Loud then blew up because they're one of the best teams in Free Fire, right?
Yeah.
So and you can see Loud now from Free Fire, they went and became successful in League of Legends and Valorant. So people should not underestimate mobile at all, because mobile introduces and onboards millions of new gamers that eventually become hardcore gamers that then feed the esports pipeline. And these gamers will not just stay on mobile forever. They will eventually play PC games and console games and so on, right? They'll graduate. So that's what we see in China. I mean, China, Honor of Kings has introduced like hardcore gaming to a massive amount of the population. And Honor of Kings is about 54% female players. That was a few years ago, but I don't know what it is today. But if you go to Honor of Kings tournaments and events, over 50% of the whole stadium is female. It's insane. I've never seen it anywhere in the world. It's very special to Honor of Kings. And I think mobile, that trend will continue because people are craving social experiences. They want to connect with people that play a game that they love. Because that's one thing I loved about Vainglory or any mobile or any games in general is the community that you meet and you connect with. I just had like one of my biggest competitors, Old School. We used to compete like he was in Cloud9, I was on Hammers, and we were like the biggest competitors to each other. He came over, he visited Singapore with his partner, and then he had dinner at my apartment, and that's the lifelong kind of connections that you make because of esports and gaming, which is what I really enjoy and appreciate. So I think mobile gaming, these massive titles, like I talk about, Mobile Legends will continue to kind of grow this whole community of hardcore gamers and enthusiasts.
Just one thing
Wow.
before Giovanna say, you said about the girls in the Honor King. In
Hmm.
Brazil, you have PGB. I don't know if you know that. It's like a research about the gamers in Brazil, and they understand that 51% of the players in the gaming nowadays are women in Brazil.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
are
I
women.
believe that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, how was your international experience influence your leadership today? And what was the biggest challenge for you from the traditional environment to the sports environment?
Yeah, very good questions. I'll answer the first one, international experience. I think a lot of Americans don't travel abroad. It's actually pretty crazy and honestly disappointing.
Yes.
A lot of them have passports. America's a big country. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's 50 states. There's like 50 different countries. If you think about it that way, massive country. I get it. It's like the EU. You don't want to. You're not going to really travel outside the EU, right? Um, but traveling to Asia, going to school abroad, being in China, all over, you get a really good understanding of global and the importance of going global. And I think that really helped informed how I lead the team at Razer because it's global esports marketing, right? So a lot of the people that I work with in esports, they only understand one pillar, which is esports, but that is not enough. That is important though. You have to have that foundation. You have to have passion for it. You have to have a unique and deep insight into esports before you can do the marketing for it or go global. But and then the next step is like understanding marketing, the function of marketing. How does marketing really work? Like, what is the purpose of marketing? The objective. These are things that I'm really coaching and developing my team around is becoming world class marketers. And the last step is just global. I mean, that's why we're global esports marketing. I'm the global esports marketing director for Razer, right? And what a lot of people in esports don't understand is you have to think about esports and how to take it global, and that's where the value is, having that global perspective and going more global, thinking more global, activating more globally, because that's what you bring. You bring a ton of value to the companies that you work with. Razer is a perfect example, of course, right? Because if we just focus on like the Singapore market or like the Brazil market or the Hawaii market, we're not going to be successful as an entire company. There's massive markets like the US and China, but you have to activate globally across all of them, right? And then your second question, so first was international experience and how that helped. And what was your second question?
How let's see.
How
How
the leadership, the first one is how the leadership, the international one, it was a leadership. And the second one, it was, one second, let me see that.
I forgot.
Uh,
It was a
I
good
forgot.
question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry. I
No,
forgot. I
because
forgot.
I was thinking about other questions I make right now because I want to know what place did you live inspire you most and learn you learned most because you have been living so many places.
Man, that is a great question because I've lived in 9 or 10 different cities. Honestly, whew, I would say honestly now. Before I went to Singapore, I would say Korea, because it informed a lot of my life. Looking back, the competition and the leadership. Because I was a battalion commander, I led a whole cadet team of like 300. I was very competitive. I want to be the best. I did activations. I hosted like the physical competition fitness events on the base and stuff like that. And that's what continue to do, but now at a global level, right? But I would say moving to Singapore. Honestly, I mean, I worked and started companies in esports, and started my own tech company as well. But I think where have I learned the most now is probably being in Singapore and working with Razer, right? Because Razer is very lean. I actually work and talk to men probably once a week, I would say. So learning a lot about you know continuing to grow as a leader, I would say, but also having a global impact and executing, you know, from upstream to downstream, from strategy to activation, and seeing the impact of that and learning so much throughout the process. I mean, because hardware peripherals is not something that I was a true expert in, but now I would say after being here 2 years, I'm not like a super expert, but I know a lot about it.
Yeah.
And it's been great, and I love it. I mean, and that's what I crave is learning. Now we also are in charge of the marketing campaign for Razer, like the brand campaign. So the global esports campaign is the brand campaign for the whole company. We launched it last year, and now we're doing another one this year. And leading that for like the whole company has been very humbling, and it's been a great learning curve. And that's what I crave is the constant uh experiences. I can keep learning and growing. I have to keep learning and growing. That's like kind of my kind of north star, so to speak, that for my team and I, and that's been you know the most fun and exciting time for me. I think looking back, even at my time at Apple, I learned a lot at Apple as well, of course, but just doing a lot of the esports campaigns, activations, working with the athletes, just taking all my experience that I had as a player, as an esports operator, and then applying it to marketing at a global level has been so much fun. It's been awesome, honestly. And then also teaching and working with my team and learning from each other across all the different countries and regions, Europe to China to the US, to APAC to Japan. We're actually spending a lot more time in Japan now because that's one area where I'm not number one, or our esports career, but I think we're getting there now. The Viper V4 Pro was very successful and it's continued doing really well in Japan. So we're going to be activating in Japan more. We did the AOGS Championships year 5 in Sapporo. It was amazing. We sponsored it with our chair. We're not a number one most used esports chair, and then now we're going to be doing something else in Japan. We were going to do even more because we want to win in the Japan market, right? So yeah, so it's been actually really fun, and that's what I love about this role. And good question, because I'm actually very fortunate to say that now I'm at this point. I look a lot younger than older than I look, but to be at this point in my career and say that, wow, yeah, I'm actually learning the most now is not something a lot of people can say. We're like using AI in work as well. We're using Claude and ChatGPT and leveraging AI. Even though gamers like they don't like AI, yeah, it is like slop. There's some slop out there. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of junk, but AI is going to change and revolutionize how we work, we make video games, we test video games. It's going to change everything. It's intelligence. Just replace AI with intelligence, and it's more intelligent things, right? And that's not going to change. So yeah. So learning the most I ever learned, and I would say Singapore. So all the places, um, it'll be Singapore. I'm actually having my daughter soon. She's due in end of July.
Congratulations.
And
Congrats.
my wife and I are happy to call Singapore home for the foreseeable future, and raise our first child together here. So yeah, so it's been very humbling. So that's why I would say Singapore.
That's great. I remember the question. It was, how was your most challenge from the traditional environment to the sports environment? How was for you, like the most challenge?
Yes, that's a very good question. From the traditional environment, I would say, okay, esports, and I saw this immediately. I actually wrote an article about this. Um, Esports they lack business fundamentals. I mean, it's actually crazy. Like they don't understand unit economics, business models. That's why a lot of esports businesses have failed. Because you
Mm,
have a lot of pretenders. You have a lot of people who like see the hype and then they jump into esports, but they're not from esports. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They don't have the unique insights or the core values of esports when it comes to why they were in the first place. They're just chasing hype. So these same people, there's contenders like me who stayed with esports and now have a very, very fun career. And there's pretenders that failed, and then you know what they did? They moved on to Web3. And what happened? They chased the next thing, the shiny thing, Web3, and that failed, right? Web3 never took off. It was just a pump and dump. I mean, a lot of questions, a lot of stuff about that. I mean, there's don't get me wrong, there's good founders though that are trying to build something sustainable in esports and Web3 and all that. But these people are like, they just chase the next shiny thing. And what's the next shiny thing? AI. So you see a lot of people chasing AI now. I see the same people in the industry that came from esports. They went to Web3, blah blah, and now they're going to AI. Um, and that's where I would say is challenging is you get that, but also you get people that are so passionate about esports, but they don't understand what makes a business successful, right? And I ran a startup, so I understand and like how important that is like what is the objective of esports marketing? We're not here to just promote the player because the
mhm.
player doesn't pay my salary. If Faker paid my salary, I would promote Faker all day because he's paying my salary. Razer is paying for my salary. Razer is supporting my family, right? So, but I want to support Faker too, but we have to activate together. It's Razer and Faker. It's the product with the persona. So when I joined Razer, we had to really focus on elevating our persona product marketing because we can't just promote the product by itself, because the athlete plays a big role. The esports athlete plays a big role in lending their credibility, their performance credentials to our products because our products support them on stage. So understanding how that comes together, and the biggest thing that I would say, just to dumb it down, right, for everyone, giveaways, like product giveaways. You should not do a giveaway just to throw a party, right? I see a lot of like brands and stuff. They just do a giveaway just to get exposure. Giveaways are easy to get like a ton of exposure if you're giving away a graphics card or a mouse or PC or whatever, right? But like look example for a Viper V4 Pro launch that we did, right? We lined up the giveaway to Faker's 13 debut anniversary, right? And the Viper V4 Pro was part of the activation. He said, "Hey, I'm thank you for your support." I actually wrote his copy. I understand, like, and that's another thing. Like, you have to understand your client or your product and your marketing assets really well. And they didn't change one thing. Faker did not even change one thing with the copy. And that ended up being his number one best giveaway ever. 400,000 likes. Imagine the exposure and the marketing reach that we were able to get for the Viper V4 Pro, right? 400,000 likes. His most shared post as well, like almost 40,000 shares. And then like comments were like 35,000, like his second most commented post ever. And it's a giveaway post. It's a sponsored post, right? It should not work that way, right? Giveaway sponsored posts don't do as well as the organic post, right? Um, but because we tied it to a fan moment and we activated the giveaway, where we're not just saying, here's a free mouse and that's it. We tied it to a very meaningful moment in Faker's career, and we thanked his fans for supporting him, and then we were just part of the activation, right? But everyone then knew the Viper V4 Pro existed, right? Because that's the whole point of a launch. Is like, hey, this product just launched, it exists, check it out, right? And it led to the best launch we ever had. I mean, and this is on top of a record launch in 2024 with the Viper V3 Pro. We had a
Wow.
record launch for that, right? So we then 2x'd it, which is crazy. Like, how do you like beat your own record, like world record, right? And that's what we did because it takes the planning, and that was months in planning, right? It's like really thinking about how to activate. And the thing I love about Razer is we really care about esports, and the teams that I work with, even the business units, they work with us to help activate. It's really hard. Like, for example, Nico's collection, we launched it on his birthday, right? Usually, most companies, they're like, no, we launch it when the product's ready. We'll just launch it whenever, random date. But we picked a meaningful date. And I
Mhm.
think that's what makes esports so much fun and so much special. It's harder to try to hit these dates because they're personal milestones. But it makes it much more meaningful. And I think that's what esports needs more of. When you do these type of really thoughtful, meaningful activations that are a lot of hard work behind the scenes, you're creating so much more value for everyone involved. And that's what esports needs more of, to be honest, right? And that's why the esports business model is evolving now, and it's going to become more and more successful, I would say. Yeah, so I would say that's what I see from traditional esports is like we are now becoming more mature. We're no longer this, like, we're not binging on an investor capital, like venture VCs coming in, throwing money at esports teams, and they're just burning the cash. And then there's no impact. There's no long term strategy. But now you see this changing, and now there is an actual sustainable long term strategy. T1 just hit their highest revenue ever, $60 million in a year, right, and stuff like that. So these are really good indicators of where the esports market is headed, right? And esports is going to take off. People are like saying the esports winter, and they're all being negative about it. I've never been more bullish about esports. It's going to do really well. Watch, in like the next 5 years, you're going to see esports really start taking off when these new games hit the market, and they're going to take the world over by storm. And that's how every esports that's how StarCraft did it, Counter Strike did it, Valorant did it, right? League did it. You're going to see a new league, a new Valorant that's going to come out, and it's going to take the entire world by storm, and it's going to continue to grow the esports business model and market.
That's
Mm,
great. I love it.
yeah. Uh, I want to do just one more question about the teams because I want to talk a little bit more about Hazer. Uh, you work at you have your company, like your team, the Hamers. After that, you went to Immortals, right? I
Yes.
had one double questions. One, it is how was that for you? Because I imagine that the structure it was totally different. It was like much bigger. And the second one, it was because if I'm not crazy, at TSM, you lead the expansion to the markets of India and Brazil, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. How was that for you? How was that first for you go to the Immortals? Because I don't know, but at least in Brazil, it's huge. It's giant here.
Yeah.
And the second, how was that for you lead this expansion for India for Brazil?
Yeah, Immortal is working along like Noah, who is the CEO and founder of Immortals, and then Ari, who took over later. Was really awesome. I mean, I grew their mobile division. I was their first North America champion because the Clash Royale team was Immortals' first North America championship team. So that was great. And then they had a lot of venture capital backing. They had huge companies like AEG, Lionsgate, backing them. So I saw so much infrastructure support, maybe too much, to be honest. They had a lot of cash, and I knew right away this is not sustainable. There has to be, eventually this business needs to mature, right? But Immortals did a lot. I mean, they own MIBR, and MIBR is doing very well. It's like its own kind of subsidiary, and
Yes.
have their own board of directors and all that. So that was really cool to see. And then from Immortals, I went to TSM, and TSM at the time had FTX, which was like a $210 million deal over 10 years, and I helped expand and grow their entire mobile division because FTX, they wanted to be everywhere, right? So we expanded to India, we expanded to Brazil, and my team total, including players, contractors, staff, almost 100 people. So I scaled up the org really fast, and it wasn't like expensive because it's mobile. Like India and Brazil, the salaries and wages are much lower compared to US, right?
Yes.
And we had the Wild Rift team in Brazil. They won the first championship, the season championship. We won. Free Fire, we graduated from Series B to Series A. I think the first team to do it in like one season, and then we end up becoming number one seed in Series A. Raoni, I don't know if he's still playing, but Raoni was 16 at the time, and he set the record. for the highest KDA or kill whatever ratio in Free Fire in the 5 year history. And TSM FTX was extremely well known back then. We were one of the best and most feared teams competing against Loud, what's No Bruce team, Fluxo,
And
all that.
Fluxo.
Yeah, we were up there along with the big players. It was awesome. We did it in like such a short period. And then India, the Free Fire team in India and the PUBG Mobile team in India, they both won the national championships. So I had like 4 championship winning teams. It was great. And then FTX collapsed. um, India was actually profitable. Brazil was not, unfortunately, but because we just couldn't compete with Cloud and Fluxo because they had this huge like creator influencer arm as well, and we didn't
Yes.
have the same marketing assets, if you so to speak, that could compete against how big those orgs were, and they had a much bigger team too. I had like one GM and like one content person in Brazil, and then they had like a whole team supporting them. So, but anyways, that's kind of like the scale is different. Like Hammers was just mostly North America, and then Immortals we expanded to new leagues, and then TSM we took it global, and which is awesome to do. It was a lot of fun actually. And one thing led to another. And when I was director of mobile at a TSM, I then became head of all of esports and marketing actually content for TSM. And then that led me to my role at Razer. Yeah. So everything again, the dots all connect backwards. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? To think about like how it all happened, and it's very humbling to just look back.
Wow. How do you connect performance with the development of products?
Yes, so we stay close to the pro. So that's why our entire campaign is for the pro. We
Mhm.
truly are. And we listen to the pros. We do a lot of feedback sessions. We send ambassadors to events. We have good relationship with the pros, and we take their feedback extremely seriously,
Mhm.
Uh, which they like, but they don't like the paperwork part. Like they're like, well, you need to give me more specific feedback. What is the firmware you're on? What is the Synapse version you're on? All because we need all this like additional things that I need to give to our product development team. So pro players don't like that part. I can tell you that. But we listen to like their feedback, like the Viper V3 Pro. We worked with Zekin on. With Faker, we worked with him on the Death Adder. To also the Viper, Nico, we work with them on the Death Adder, and all these pros and their insights validate our our products, right? And why they are used on stage at the most intense and important times of these players' lives, right? Is on the tournament, on the championship stage, and that performance leadership translates into consumer preference, right?
Mm.
And that's why esports is important because people care about what the esports pros are using and playing with, and that translates to consumer preference, right? Which we market. We're saying the pros use it. That's how good the product is, and that's true. It's very true. Like that's how really good the product is actually. And as a result, it leads to consumer preference. So they consider Razer. They think about it. Razer's a big branding game. Don't get me wrong. We're really big, massive, right? Huge ecosystem, but there's billions of people who don't know what Razer is potentially, right? That's why brands need to continually market. They need to continually activate and market. And Razer launches so many new products, right? A lot of companies do, and that's why you have to keep marketing it. If people don't know you exist, or they don't know your product exists, or why your product is so good, they're not going to consider your product, and they're not going to buy your product, right? So that's why marketing, especially with AI, AI is like the big talk. Uh, Marketing, sales, and product development are going to be the three most important roles in this age of AI, because you sell to a human, you market to a human, and you develop for a human. So these are things that AI cannot really directly replace, because um, having that human experience and connection helps you market better to them, sell better to them, and develop better for them, right? And I think that's why being in esports is important. Putting yourself out there, doing these experiences, competing, being a pro, working on production, being a caster, coaching a team, being a GM. All these things are experiences that AI is not going to be able to give you, and those experiences will help you be able to sell, develop, or market. towards this huge cohort of future consumers, right? So that's kind of like how I look at it, and why you know when you think about esports and marketing and all the experiences that people have in esports, why that will matter later on. Yeah.
Oh,
Really, really cool. You said that this three one, like development is one, uh, and you are talking a little bit about the process of the Viper V4 Pro. Uh, I would like to understand two things about that. You said a little bit about what made it so special, and how was the process of the development of this mouse? Because it's unbelievable. I have already used it. How was that? What made so special for you? And even though the likes and the comments and everything, and how was the process of development?
Yeah, yeah. So we retained the shape, right? It's the same shape as the Viper V3 Pro, and we improved everything inside it, and that's where people think like, oh, you have the same shape, or because I used to work for Apple, and people think the same iPhone is not innovating, but there is so much innovation happening underneath that phone. The screen improves, the ceramic shield, the silicone architecture in an iPhone, the camera system, everything is improving. People don't see it. Outside, it looks the same. So yes, the Viper V3 Pro and the Viper V are the same shape, but the Viper V4 Pro is fully optical now. The switches, everything is optical. The scroll wheel, so that's three times more reliable, right? So when it comes down to matches and playing in the heat of the moment, you know that the Viper V4 Pro is going to be much more reliable than any other product because it's fully optical. There's not going to be the issues that you have with mechanical and all that. Number two is the shell. It's lighter. The Viper V4 Pro is like 49 grams versus like 59 in the previous generation. And the crazy thing is it's lighter but also stronger. The body is much more durable, and pros can feel that. They can feel it because again, they put their mouse under immense pressure. When you're Valorant, you're swiping across the entire like mouse pad, right? You're in Fortnite, you're like swiping. It's like much bigger moves. You need a lighter mouse. So we made it lighter but even more structurally sound, which is again innovative in its own right, right? It's like 60-70% stronger body when it's lighter, right? And the battery, it went from 90 hours to 180 hours. We like almost double the battery life, and it's lighter. You think you need probably a heavier battery, right? You need like a much heavier battery to get that many hours on a mouse, and that's performance. We're like just driving performance even further, right? Because you should think the opposite. If the phones get lighter, the battery should get worse, right? But you're not seeing that, and that's where technology just continues to keep us on our toes. We need to keep pushing the edge of technology, keep innovating, um, and continue to improve the product despite physical constraints and physics and all that stuff, right? So that's a cool thing about it. That's why like a lot of pros, they love our products because the Viper V4 Pro just feels amazing in your hand. The buttons, the way it clicks, the scroll wheel, the body, the unibody like structure, and how strong the shell is, the battery life, all these things make a big difference to how they interact, use, and experience our products. And as a result, the adoption level is very high, right? So I would say that's how pros, they help us a lot because they push us, they keep us on our edge, right? We have to keep developing better and better because they chase every millisecond, right? They want to have the fastest product, the best product, and you can always improve it. You cannot say like the product is the best ever it's gonna been. You can always improve the product year after year after year, and that's what makes esports so exciting. It's like you have to keep the technology will continue to advance and improve, and you got to keep up with the pros and how fast technology moves. So, and that's why Razer has been so successful is we've done that. Stay close to the pros, keep up with them, and continue to push the boundaries of the technology in our peripherals.
I am the deaf one. I am the deaf one. I
Death
am the deaf
Adder,
one.
I
yeah, yeah.
love I
Yeah.
love the Death Lamp. I have a one Orochi here.
Oh wow, look at
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys, yeah,
so cute.
Oh, she's a gamer. She's a gamer. She plays a lot.
But I'm so bad. I'm so noob.
yeah.
but I play for fun, just for fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it's been a great conversation. I didn't realize it's already 8:57. Is there any other questions that you guys want to ask real quick before we, wrap up
Yeah.
Yes,
this
just
this
we
interview?
have just two more questions.
Yeah, sure.
The partnership with Faker it was so iconic, and I would like to know how it was involved, like how you guys decide to do this partnership with him.
Yeah, so I use Faker as a really good example of how you want to partner with Razer. So we didn't sponsor Faker. He switched to Razer already. He was on a Death Adder like 14 years ago. Actually, a fan gifted him the Death Adder, and then he used it and loved it. And then we sponsored him. So I think that's very important. That's like the organic part of the sponsorship, because we don't want to force someone to like our products and force them on Razer. We want them to actually genuinely use Razer and like it. So Faker's a good example, and that's how it kind of started. And now we've been with him for 10 years. So I saw that his 10 year was coming up, and then there was a massive plan. I had to talk to him and plan it in advance. And we celebrated his Razer and Faker 10 year anniversary in Singapore. So it was his first time visiting Singapore for Razer. And the relationship is so strong. It's strong, the strongest it's ever been. And he dedicated like 5 days with us in Singapore. So we did a lot of cool activations. We did a production shoot. We did his celebration event, his 10 year anniversary here. It was a very meaningful moment for him. And we just made that relationship between Razer and Faker even stronger um, than it's ever been, right? And we're doing more. You'll see some cool stuff coming up, of course, with Faker. But yeah, so I'm the Faker's DRI, or directly responsible individual. So I'm directly responsible for anything Faker. So anything that relates to Faker has to go through me at Razer.
Hmm.
It wasn't that way before. I met with Faker for the first time as well in November 2024. The funniest comment he said is, Jeff, I've been with Razer for almost 9 years, and you're the first esports director I met in person. I was like, what? That's gonna change now. So now I met Faker in person multiple times, because he's our most important esports marketing asset, right? And we have to activate him well, and that's what we've been doing. So yeah, so that's like
Mhm.
kind of the story with Faker, at a high level.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Our last question is like a question that we do for everyone. I think one is the most important for us, which is
Hmm.
uh, if you have to give one advice for someone who is starting in esports now. I'm saying the esports when you say like a business career, what advice was that?
Yeah, I would say uh action agency. It's the biggest thing I would say. It's what I see lacking in so many players, honestly, pro players as well, people in business, at work. Agency, it's agency is you have control of your destiny because you're acting on it. You are taking action, you're taking initiative, you're just getting things done, you're just building, you're not waiting or stuff. You just take action, you're executing, you're putting yourself out there because you have to, just because the reason why agency is so important, it goes back to learning. If you don't take on more responsibility, you don't act and put yourself out there, you're not gonna learn as fast. Okay, I ran a startup, and that's the most important thing, because a lot of founders, and I was a first time founder, and I learned this the hard way. Is people like will like not want to launch their product, they want to make it perfect and all this stuff. No, just put it out there, man. Just get it out there, start acting, and you'll get feedback, real world feedback immediately. So people need to put themselves out there, and then don't give up. When you start out, you're going to fail. You're going to fail, and that's the beauty, and that's a good thing. Like when I started streaming on Twitch, I had zero viewers. Like, am I going to give up then? No, I kept streaming, and I got better and better over time, and I just did it. Mobile gaming streaming was not popular. Like I was like embarrassed a little bit because I'm like, oh man, I'm a streaming on Twitch as a mobile gamer. Like, what the hell is this? Everyone's like streaming like Call of Duty and all these cool games, and I'm like streaming mobile games. Like what? Like it was such a small niche, and then mobile gaming blew up. Like streaming esports, and I stuck with it, right? And I would say, like, don't listen to the crowd or the hard data. Like, put yourself out there. You get anecdotal data, you get unique insights. So that's why like having agency is so important, because it's gonna give you all these things, because you're gonna do it. You're gonna put yourself out there. Because I have so much experience in mobile and all this, it led me to become recruited by Immortals, and then TSM recruited me because I was the best guy in mobile. Right, I had championships under my belt. I was the mobile guy in the mobile esports guy in the industry, right? And I was recruited by TSM's like COO, right? And I was like handpicked, right? So and that's kind of how things lead to more opportunity. And then you network. It's like being a pro player, right? You got to get good first and build something for yourself, and build your own value, because you've spent the time and did the hard work, the foundation, and then the rest will be easier. So hard now, easy later. What a lot of young people, they try to do easy now, and guess what? It's freaking hard later, because if you don't build anything, and you don't like a lot of people that want to go pro, you got to put in the hard work. And then once you get to the top tier, it becomes easier for you to get recruited to a team. Where if you don't put in the hard work and you can't get to the top tier, you have nothing. You can't network, right? So people try to network first, but no, you need to focus on creating value first, and then you network, right? And then you make those connections. So I think that's like important for young people to understand. That the biggest advice is I see the lack of agency everywhere. It's crazy. Like, just having agency will set you apart, will make you a top performer in any company, in any team, any discipline. It's insane, the lack of agency I see. And it comes down to people that are willing to take action and just execute, like you guys doing this podcast, and just executing it. Is you guys have agency. You have a plan to do something. You're acting on it, right? That's what agency is, and that's what a lot of people lack. And that's going to lead to more opportunities. You're not going to see the dots connect forward, but you will definitely see it connect backwards later. So that's my biggest advice, I would say. Is, and especially in the age of AI, because AI will make everything a lot easier, like creating new products, marketing plans, all this stuff will be a lot easier. And what's going to separate one person from another person is how much more agency they have to leverage the tools and the resources and the power that more intelligence and AI tools will give them, to run companies, to market, to sell, to develop products, whatever it is, right? And then that's why agency is like the number one thing right now, I would say, because it's really comes down to talent. Agency is a reflection of your talent and how you're activating that talent. And it goes back to marketing. So I want to end it off on that. Marketing, if you don't activate it well, it means nothing, right? You have to activate it against meaningful moments. And marketing is not just, putting something out there. It's really about the activation. So when I work with teams and I sponsor teams and, tournament organizers, I don't think about just putting my label on a stream. I think about what is the activation plan. And without a good activation plan, I don't sponsor it, because that's where the value is going to be, is in the activating, right? And that's where the agency part comes a huge role. So yeah, I'll end it on that. And that's why agency is like super important. So, and I think a lot of young people don't even understand what that word means. So they should learn it, right? They should learn what agency really is, and why it matters now in this day and age.
Thank you
Eh,
so much. It was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. We learned a lot.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much as
yes.
well. Take care, and
Thank,
enjoy. And thanks for
thank you.
taking the time to chat at this hour with Brazil there.
Thank you, Shao. Thank you, Giovanna. And if you have anything to say for Brazilian people, it's our time.
Yeah, no, I love Brazil. Free Fire. I miss it. I miss it a lot, actually. I miss working my Brazil team. They're so passionate about esports, and the Brazil fans are the best fans. Okay, they are. I was there for a live event, and the crowd is wild, man. I
Yes.
love it. And I've been all over the world, but I've been to China, Singapore, Europe, Australia, US. I've been everywhere, and Brazil fans are like the loudest, most passionate fans, and it has a
Yeah, yeah.
huge potential, I think,
Yeah.
for esports. So yeah, that's my
Okay.
that's my kind of spiel for Brazil.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Giovanna.
Thank
And
All
see
right,
you.
you
take
guys
care.
next week.
I see you
Take
guys.
care. Bye bye.
Yep.